It's Coffee Near Me. I'm Barbara Deeb. We're here at the Flying Pig in Russellville, Kentucky, and Michael Morrow is joining me. Michael is a man of many, we're going to call you the Renaissance man. He does so many different things here in Russellville, but one of his main jobs is as director of the West Kentucky African American Museum. And you mentioned the archives that you think, as part of the museum, that is probably the most fascinating thing in there. Because why? Because of what it documents?
Because of what it documents. It has things that you can put your hand on. You can see things that were used hundreds of years ago. You can read documents that people wrote. What I love about a lot of the documents, they didn't write them knowing that you were going to read them.
How do you mean that? What do you mean?
Is that a lot of times you'll get a document and they may have one talking about how to treat his slaves. Well, he didn't know that 150 years a black guy was going to have this reading it about how to treat your slaves.
Wow.
So the intended audience, they didn't know who it was. They just wrote the document. So I enjoy kind of looking at them and seeing what's in them. And the uniforms, the outfits, the Army uniforms, World War I uniforms, to me they're just so neat. I guess because I like military stuff though. But I think the archives is probably my most favorite place.
And where do all these things come from? Just people in the Russellville, this region, this area?
Come from all over the United States. I've had people to send me boxes of stuff. And then sometimes I used to come home and it'd be trash bags just sitting on my front porch.
Of people who just had stuff that they wanted you to have in the museums?
And then older people would call me. People would die in their family. They say, we got this stuff, come look at it. And I'll look at it and say, yeah, we need to take it. My church cleaned out its basement the other day. And they said, well, can you come help us? I get down there. I find the ribbon for the first black Boy Scout troop that was formed in Logan County. The two ribbons. Now they threw them out in the trash pile, and I just happened to look at this cabinet. I said, what's in this cabinet? And open it up, and there's just two ribbons.
That's unbelievable. And isn't the Kimbrough House somehow affiliated with that? Mm-hmm. Explain that for somebody watching. What does that mean?
Well, the Kimbrough House is part of the museum. It's the oldest brick house in Russellville. And we have the exhibit of Mary Ann Fisher in that house right now.
And Mary Ann Fisher was a songbird of the South?
Songbird of the South.
She played with Ray Charles.
Mm-hmm. She was a headliner for Ray Charles. And they said she was his girlfriend, and it seemed like they had a good time. She told a story in her papers that she said when she first met him, he took her to New York, and he sent her to the drugstore, and she got lost, and he had to come find her.
Ray Charles had to go find Mary Ann Fisher. I love that story. But yeah, the conventional wisdom is that they had a relationship. Yeah. And so her family home was here, or her sister?
Her family home was in Henderson. Her father got murdered when she was a young girl. Her mother met a man who told her that he loved her, but he didn't want no ready-made family, so she put all the kids up for adoption. They went to Louisville, to Betsy Allen's orphanage up in Louisville, and a lot of famous musicians came out of that orphanage. And she was eventually adopted by a woman here named City Mary. Gertrude Mary was her name, but they called her City. And City was unique. She ran a restaurant that was segregated. It catered to whites. And she became wealthy, and she took the money and she adopted orphans from all over the state.
What a beautiful story.
And Mary Ann was one of them.
So many stories here in the Russellville area that you have inside the museum. Is there one in particular that touches your heart?
I guess I'd say the lynching museum, the lynching exhibit. It does something to me, I guess. You know, I tell people when they come to do the tour, it's an unpleasant story, but in these days and times, a necessary story. It's unpleasant because you never want to see anything, at least I don't, where people are getting murdered or hurt. But at the same time, we have to look at these things in order to say these things shouldn't happen to anybody else who comes along. So that would be the one that I wouldn't say enjoy the most, but I think is the most important.
The most compelling, touches you. We're talking with Michael Morrow, the executive director of the West Kentucky African American Museum in Russellville, Kentucky. People can come by, right? Take a tour. Do you give the tours?
Yeah, I give tours. You can book a tour, or you can come if you call us during the season, you can just tour them yourself. We're open from May to September. You usually open the first week of May, and May to October, and we close Tobacco Festival week. And Heritage Festival week is our last opening week, and that's usually in October. Then after that, you have to book a tour.
There you go. There you go. Thank you for sharing those stories. Yeah. If you want to connect with some of those stories, you can do that. And if you want to connect with us, you can keep the conversation going in the comments section. This is Coffee Near Me. I'm Barbara Deeb. Michael Morrow, thanks so much. And we're here at the Flying Pig. A special thanks to proprietor owner Jamie Saul for letting us hang out here. Thanks.